Hi there, my name is Dr. Bree, and today I'm going to share with you a video that's for the men who are following my channel. I've had a lot of requests for a daily routine for men that's going to help with all sorts of pelvic floor issues, from bladder issues for men who've gone through prostate surgery, sexual health issues, and even issues related to pelvic pain. So this workout is something you can do daily if it works for your body. Always know that you have to listen to your own body and your own needs. But we are going to be stretching and strengthening the pelvic muscles. And we're going to begin with a lengthening exercise first for your pelvic floor muscles themselves. Now, it's really important to lengthen before we strengthen. You can't strengthen a muscle that's all knotted up like this. You have to release it first so that you can successfully strengthen. So for our first exercise, you will need a chair with kind of a firm seat. And I have options for you. You can either use a tennis ball or a towel, as I'm about to show you. And what we're going to be doing is releasing the muscles, the pelvic floor muscles, by placing a towel, as I'm about to show you, or a tennis ball in this area right here, right to the inside of your sitting bone. So right between your butt bone, your sitting bone, and your anus. So we're going to start with one side and then we're going to move to the other side. This is the back of the pelvis. And this right here is the anus. These are your pelvic floor muscles, and these are your two sitting bones, your ischial tuberosities. So we're going to be going for this area right to the inside, right between your sitting bone and your anus, okay? So again, the tennis ball is placed right there. It's behind, kind of behind your testicles. So it's not squishing your testicles. Make sure that's not happening. If you have the tennis ball, what you're going to do is, again, sitting with the tennis ball right in between your sitting bone and your anus, gently coming over that ball and simply letting the muscles melt over that ball. Now, with the towel option, you are going to roll up a hand towel. So this is like a dish towel. You're going to fold it in half and roll it so it's a long, skinny length, and then you can roll the top of it just a couple of times to create kind of a little ball right here. So you can roll it a little bit more or a little bit less, but you just want to have this area here be what you're sitting on. This is a little softer than a tennis ball, so it can be nice. So you're going to place that right to the inside of your sitting bone, behind your testicles, of course. So between the sitting bone and the anus, and you're simply going to sit down onto that and just adjust to find the spot where it feels like it's right coming up, putting some pressure up into your pelvic floor muscles. And play with the different options. If you're not feeling this, you can make the roll a little bit bigger. Or you can go grab a tennis ball and try it with the tennis ball. But you don't want to be having pain, but you do want to have a little bit of that upward pressure that you can put your feet flat on the ground and just melt over. Imagine that your muscles of your pelvic area are just releasing into that little bit of pressure. It might feel like some resistance at first, but take some breaths and breathe into that area. Feel like your pelvic floor muscles are melting like chocolate or like butter over that pressure of the tennis ball or the towel roll. So breathing. And so often a lot of our muscle dysfunction comes from muscles that are too tight. And this can happen if you have a job where you're sitting a lot throughout the day and maybe you're sitting with bad posture, or it can happen if you have a lot of stress in your life, and it can cause these muscles to tense up. So we want to sit up nice and tall right now. Make sure you're not slouched. And just find that sweet spot where you're feeling like, yeah, my muscles really need some help right there. And then, even with a sigh or like a, allow the muscles to just relax and soften into the pressure of that ball. If this is too intense and if it just causes a lot of pain, then that's an indicator to me that you might need some extra help. You might need to go see a pelvic floor physical therapist for help in releasing these muscles. Let's do the other side. So if you were using the tennis ball, you can just switch it to the other side. Again, we're going inside, the inside of the sitting bone on the other side. So now I'm just gonna move my little towel roll to the inside of the sitting bone, behind your testicles. So it's that area between your sitting bone and your anus. And you can kind of move your hips a little bit to feel where that sweet spot is, where you're like, oh yeah, there's some tenderness there. This is our pelvic floor muscles. Men and women have pelvic floor muscles. And it's also really close to the obturator internus, which is one of the deep hip rotators. So really finding that position that feels like the muscle really needs some attention. Just find that spot and then rest. Try not to resist, just be, just accept the sensation. Say, hey, hello sensation, and breathe into it. Imagine your muscles softening and melting like chocolate or like butter over that tennis ball or the rolled towel. Remember, we lengthen before we strengthen. So breathing just a little bit more. Again, you can move the hips a little bit if that feels good to you. And don't skip this part. You might be thinking, this is boring, Bree, let's just get to the strength work. But this part is part of your strength work. Again, you have to lengthen before you can strengthen. So don't skip this part, it's essential. Okay. So now that you've done that, I want you to take a minute to release the towel or the ball and just move your sitting bones out to the sides. So literally use your hands and scoop your butt cheeks and also your sitting bones outwards, and just feel a grounded sensation of your bottom on the seat. Now in this position, we're gonna do some pelvic floor pull-ups. So basically all you're doing here is we're just doing a Kegel. So I want you to feel as if you are lifting your pelvic floor muscles that we just released. Feel as if you're lifting them away from the seat of the chair and then releasing them back down. You can think of that area behind your testicles, like your perineum area. Feel like you're lifting that up and away from the chair and then setting it back down. Do that 2 or 3 more times. Squeezing and lifting that perineum area behind your testicles, like you're lifting it up and away from the chair, and then setting it back down. You can also think of like you're picking up a blueberry with your anus and then setting it back down. Now the cool thing about that is that it allows you to give a really nice amount of pressure. I don't want you to be squeezing the heck out of this blueberry. It's just a gentle picking up and a setting back down. Okay, now, if you have a towel, we're gonna try another variation of pelvic floor pull-ups. So this towel, if you can take your towel and turn it into a little bit of a block, a little rectangular shape, you're going to try putting that underneath your hips. Now, what we're gonna be doing, I'm gonna show you with this pelvis model, is you're gonna be doing a pelvic floor pull-up. If you had a slightly bigger towel than this, it'd probably be even better. If you don't have a towel at all, just do a few more of those lifts like we were just doing. But if you do have a towel, then you're gonna put it under one of your sitting bones. Now it's gonna cause one side of your pelvis to be elevated just a little bit, so it's a little bit higher on this side. Now you're gonna use your pelvic floor muscles, and of course, you're gonna be using your other muscles as well, your abs, your hips, other muscles are gonna be involved. But I want you to lift your muscles to help make your pelvis even. So it's gonna come down just a little bit when you release, and then as you squeeze and lift your pelvic muscles, including your pelvic floor, it's gonna make your pelvis even, okay? It's a very subtle sensation. But I want you to think of it as a pelvic floor pull-up, like you are squeezing and lifting one side to make your pelvis even and level. Towel is under one side of the pelvis. It allows just a slight tilt of the pelvis to occur. Now use the inner pelvic muscles, and the rest of your core is going to be active as well, to lift and feel like you're lifting up to make your hips level, and then release. 2 more times. Lifting that one side to make your pelvis level, and then release. Let's do it again. Lifting those inside pelvic floor muscles. Your other core muscles are working as well to make your hips even, and then let it go. Okay, switching sides to the other side. Take a breath to kind of shake it out. And then we're gonna put the folded towel under the other sitting bone. So now our pelvis is tipped the other way. It's just a slight little tip. And you're using those inner pelvic floor muscles and your core to lift up the other side. So you're making the pelvis level. Squeezing and lifting, and then let it go. Now what this does is it's using one side of your pelvic floor muscles a little more strongly than the other side. So it's 2 more times. We lift the side that's lower to make your hips even, and then we let it go. 1 more time. Breathing with this, lifting, squeezing and lifting those pelvic floor muscles and the rest of the core, and then letting it go. Nice. Okay, that's enough of those pelvic floor isolation exercises. Take a minute to just shake out your butt cheeks. Men can shake it out too. Men can shimmy and shake just like anybody else. So shimmy and shake, take a deep breath, and we're gonna stand up for the next exercises. All right, for our next exercise, we're gonna do a mini air squat with a pelvic pulse. So you're going to sit your hips back. Knees are right over your feet. You don't want them in, you don't want them out. Knees are over your feet. You are sitting your butt way back, lifting your tailbone. Do not tuck under. So you're sitting back, sitting bones are apart. Now you're going to squeeze to stand up, and then a little extra pulse at the top. So down, and then exhale, and pulse. Squat down, feeling the sitting bones spread apart, releasing the pelvic floor. Now squeeze the butt, pelvic floor is lifted, and an extra pulse. So down, releasing pelvic floor. Exhale, squeezing and activating pelvic floor with a pulse. Down, exhale, pulse. Down, exhale to stand, and pulse. Down, releasing the sitting bones, releasing the pelvic floor. Exhale to stand and pulse. 1 more. Down, releasing the pelvic floor. Exhale to stand and pulse. All right, shake it out. Release the legs, release the butt muscles. Let it all go. Feel as if those pelvic floor muscles that we relaxed over the tennis ball or the towel, get in touch with them and let them go. Let them soften. Let them relax. If they're tight the whole time, they're not going to get stronger. So you've got to take a minute to let them relax. Now, for our next exercise, we're going to work on balance and hip mobility. Motion is lotion, and this is so important for all of those hip rotators that are so interconnected with the pelvic floor. If these hip rotator muscles are not strong, it's going to impact your pelvic floor. So go ahead and stand up nice and tall, feet strong on the ground. Inhale, exhale, feel that lift of your pelvic floor like we lifted away from the chair earlier. Lift and hold. Hold that little lift, okay? Pelvic floor is active, that perineum is lifted. Hold it. You'll even feel your low belly kind of tighten up a little bit. Strong like that. You are going to keep that strength. Lift one leg. Now in this position, I want you to rotate that hip around in the socket. So rotating it around. Go slow. Challenge your balance. And play with this too. I want you to internally and externally rotate your leg. As you bring it up and around, you can play with your knee going in and out. Let's just do 5 more seconds. Keep breathing, keep that core strong, and then let that leg down. Nice. Okay, shake it out, let it go. Remember those pelvic floor muscles over the towel, over the tennis ball. Let them soften again. Shake it out. And now we engage again. So zipping up your core, lifting that pelvic floor like we lifted away from the chair. Hold that lift of the pelvic floor. Your low belly will gently be drawn in as well. Hold that. And now the other leg lifts. Standing nice and tall, we are circling our hip circles, standing on one leg. Add a little rotation so that it doesn't matter what you do. You can do anything with your leg. Just keep it up off the ground and try to move it in all directions. You can always hold on to something for support. Keep breathing. Keep that core strong and lifted. This is a pelvic floor strengthener. It's working on endurance of the pelvic floor muscles. It's working on mobility of the hips and the hip rotators that feed into the pelvic floor. So one more time. And release. Great. All of that balance training and that dynamic mobility, so important for the health of your whole pelvic area. So shake it out. Big deep breath into your belly, big deep breath into your low back, big deep breath into your pelvic floor muscles. Let them soften, let them go. Now, our last standing exercise is hip circles. Now, I love this exercise for all people, not just women. Men can hip circle too. Everybody can do hip circles. Bend your knees. Feet are wide. Now, you're going to go with your pelvis forward to the side, back to the side. Forward to the side, back to the side. Now, smooth it out like you're drawing a circle on the ground beneath you. Now, your partner will thank you for hip circles. Do hip circles for mobility, to get in touch with your pelvic and your core muscles, and for strength of the pelvic floor and release of the pelvic floor. You'll notice that when you circle around forward, you lift the pelvic floor muscles like that Kegel lift. When you circle around back, you release the pelvic floor. So just notice that. Breathing. Exhale, feel that lift. Inhale, feel the release. Exhale, feel the lift. Inhale, feel the release. Take it slower if you need to. Now go the other way. So circle the other way. We don't have to do a ton of these, but circles every day are something I recommend for everybody. Knees are bent, spine is long, you're not hunching over. You're nice and lifted through your heart, through your chest. And really feel that strength. You'll even feel your low belly, like that gut area. You're gonna feel it tone up as you circle around forward. So it's toning the whole core. And you're done. Nice job. Our last exercise is puppy pose. So you're gonna do this on the ground. If you don't have a way to do this on the ground, you can do a variation of puppy pose, standing, where you simply exhale, hinge forward at your hips, and you're standing at a countertop with your knees bent. Just make sure that your back is not hunchy like this. Now, I prefer doing it on the floor, and it is a wonderful stretch and release for your pelvic floor. So your knees are under your hips, and you are simply crawling your hands forward, forehead to the floor, and really feel like you're reaching your sitting bones up toward the sky and your tailbone up toward the sky. If this pinches your back at all, then be sure to lift your belly toward your spine to protect your low back. Feel your sitting bones drawing apart like a flashlight is shining up toward the sky above you. And breathe. And you can play with your foot position here. It can feel really nice to bring your feet out to the sides just a couple of inches. That can help open up your pelvic floor in a different way. So breathing. And just know that in order to be strong, your muscles have to also be long and not clenched and tight. So this muscle stretch is really, really important for keeping your pelvic floor muscles strong and healthy so that you can make sure that you have bladder control, an amazing sex life, and just a comfortable pelvis and low back. So thank you so much. Do this exercise routine regularly. 5 times a week would be amazing. And talk to your doctor if you have any questions. I have playlists that are specifically for men. I will link them in the video description, so check them out. And until next time, remember to eat clean, move every day, and you will shine brighter. No matter what your gender, how old you are, what type of issues you have, you can feel better. Keep moving. I'll see you next time.